These are supposed to be some of the most verified images of giants. There's a part of history that just is not being told. Hieroglyphics in Egypt showing massive human-like entities.
There's a giant footprint in granite in South Africa.
It's about as tall as you are, 6 foot tall, a footprint.
Look at this. There's the big toe and the other 4 toes down to the small toe, down to the heel. What's fascinating about this is this piece sticking out here. It's like when you put your foot in mud and you pull it out, your toes will lift up a little mud.
That's got to be the foot of a 20 to 40 foot creature.
There was another kind of human on this planet which wouldn't go along with Darwinian evolution.
There was a petrified finger that was found. Tell us about that. Was it biological?
Oh, very much so. So they've scanned it. They can see the tendons and the bones, and it's very much organic finger bone with the fingernail as well. And if you would have attached that to a human and done the analysis, it would have been over 20 foot tall. Maybe we're talking Anunnaki or the offspring, the Nephilim, here on Earth. Maybe these Bible stories have more to tell us than we're giving them credit for.
In the Hebrew Bible, the Nephilim were the sons of gods. They were also known as giants and considered to be the fallen ones. Michael Mott's research suggests that they might have retreated underground.
Of the tribe that said that they were guarding the entrance to the inner earth. They said it would take maybe a couple of weeks to finally get down far enough where they would meet the inhabitants, and they were just these gigantic people, anywhere between 10 and 11 and a half feet tall. They talked about how when they got far enough down, one of the things they saw was basically molten rock. And that's exactly what modern science tells us you should find underneath the earth. And how would a primitive people know that?
The evidence left behind for the giants on this planet is staggering.
I have found bones and body parts in the mountains that are 50 times, 100 times, 500 times the size of humans. So the ancient stories of giants on Earth have been passed on over and over again. There's definitely an agenda to hide the origins of humanity, to hide the true history of our species, the true history of the planet, of what happened here. Our entire history has been rewritten and hidden from us for so long.
Giants have been found.
So there's over 1,500 newspaper articles from the early 1900s, late 1800s of non-stop discoveries of giant bones.
There are over 100 large human-looking mysterious footprints preserved in stone for thousands of years all over the world.
What are these giants and what happened to them?
Back in line, you dog! On your feet! Get them going!
Forget to add myself to the stage. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. This is Cross Examinations. My name is Mike, your humble host, as we go through the Horizon Fall. What's it called? Starts with a devotional. Sorry, I'm like so gacked out on caffeine right now. I'm like, yeah. But giants, there were giants in the land. So this goes through 1st and 2nd Samuel, and we were just going through last week the whole Goliath thing, and I'm like, did I not take advantage of the fact that we were just dealing with Goliath to talk about giants in the land? Sorry, there's a fly in my room now, and that's really annoying me. Fly. But yeah, giants. Jeez Louise. Those giant footprints. Oh, you like the shirt? It's not your day, President Trump. Thank you, Arlene, and hello, Zach Richmond. Attack on Titan music intensifies. What's up, guys? Glad you're here. If you are, Demolvix here, there is gigantism. Okay, gigantism would not attribute or account for a 5 to 6 foot tall footprint in granite. And it's not the only one. You saw numerous ones on that video, right? I always want, gosh, I wish I could just do a stock portfolio thing. But you have to think about it. All right, a foot is about the length of someone with a actually that's crazy because 12 inches. What is your average foot size? I think like your average foot size. So let's say your foot is a foot, like 12 inches, and you're like 6 feet, right? So if your foot was 2 feet, would that make you 12 feet, or is it diminishing returns, or does the foot have to get bigger in order for you to get taller? That's probably the case, right? I mean, like dimensionally, like exponentially, right? Does the foot have to get exponentially taller or wider, taller, longer? I should stop drinking coffee, but I'm not going to. So like say there's some diminishing returns. So like if your foot is 2 feet long, 24 inches, maybe that means you're 10 feet tall. Well, okay. If your foot is 5 to 6 feet long, 20 feet, I don't think 20 feet is near tall enough. I think he's right when he said 20 to 40 feet. I think you're closer to 30 to 40 feet. If your freaking foot is 6 feet long. And again, you saw the various different photos. Those are real. Those existed before Photoshop. Those all existed. This is all stuff that the kind of stuff that like made me question evolution and lead me into believing in creationism. Another thing I just pointed out on Facebook. I do a lot of this arguing on Facebook. If you guys don't follow me there, but don't, because I only accept friend requests from people I know in real life. So it's not really social media. It's not parasocial media for me. For me, Facebook is like connecting with people I actually really know. But on there, one of the issues I was talking about is carbon-14 dating, wherein there was this video of let me should I play it, or I have 2 chapters to get through today, so maybe I shouldn't squirrel too much. Ancient aliens might have had Photoshop. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they might have had some. There's always been photo manipulation. Joseph Stalin removed people from photographs, but it's like a dude standing on video in front of giant footprints in granite. That's not Photoshop. It's not AI. That's all legitimate stuff that you have to deal with. It's like, what is there, 50 million years ago when that granite was formed, according to science, because they're a bunch of idiots. Were there giants here 50 million years ago that just happened to step on the land and then they disappeared from planet Earth? No. And so that was another thing. It's like, there's certain rock you cannot carbon date, right? And so they claim it's hundreds of millions of years old. But then you're like, okay, you ask an evolutionist, it's like, is carbon dating accurate? And they're like, yes, carbon dating is always accurate. Well, how come coal, which you claim is tens, hundreds of millions of years old, coal, every piece of coal from every coal bed from any location on planet Earth can be carbon dated to around 12,000 years or younger? Well, carbon dating's only always accurate when it agrees with our theories. Okay. All right. So clearly, if coal is less than 12,000 years old, then the rocks that surround the coal, the rocks that are under the coal, the rocks that are above the coal, and coal beds are usually deep, right? Coal beds aren't usually on top. Coal beds are usually deep. So all those things on top, which you're saying are millions and millions and millions, millions of years old, are younger than the coal, which is only 12,000 years old. Otherwise, you're just freaking making up rules to match your theory. So anyways, that to say, there were giants in the land. As the title of this is, Giants in the Land. There were giants in the land. We've got evidence of giants. We've got historical records of giants. We had a whole bunch of giant corpses that this Smithsonian all gathered up around the 1920s and then disappeared because they don't like this happening because it doesn't fit with evolutionary biology, does it? Because the giants don't fit. Just like the giant trees and the giant... Okay. I was looking through some of those giant mushroom things. How the other day when we were talking about giant trees, I was like, I saw that one thing of the giant mushroom. I'm like, well, wait, what is that? Here, let me share my screen again. I found this page, Ancient Giant Tree Truth, on Facebook. And some of the stuff like this is, yes, very, yeah, dude, that looks identical to a giant tree, right? This thing in Scotland, there's no friggin' way on planet Earth or any universe where that's volcanic activity. Those are cells. Those are the way trees grow today, cell structures and whatnot. Look at that. That one's just crazy. Anyways, trying to get to the mushroom one. Okay, and then I got to this one. They're like, oh, look at these. They're giant petrified mushrooms. And I'm looking at, I'm like, they do look like giant petrified mushrooms, right? They look like it. But that is a erosion. I think these can be easily explained, at least most of them. I mean, some of them do look kind of weird, and that one's fake. They're using the fact that there is a giant mushroom in Oregon's Mahler National Forest with a root system that covers 2,200 acres. That doesn't mean the giants are this big. This is clearly photoshopped, or photo manipulated, however you want to say it. But I think, I mean, that is weird. That is a very strange boulder, and that one's weird. That one's kind of hard to explain. And yeah, those are kind of hard to explain. But like stuff like this, or like that, or like that, what it looks to me like is some sort of a boulder that was on dirt. Maybe this entire area got eroded out from under it. I don't know. I'm just it doesn't entirely fly with me because you can see there's erosion all over everything around here, right? There's erosion. There's a big boulder that somehow deflected the erosion, and maybe it was direct pour down. I don't know, but it looks like erosion. So I'm gonna I'm gonna cautiously deny that these are actually giant mushrooms because that just seems a little, yeah. I mean, okay, that one does look kind of cool. I mean, that one does. You do kind of want to, because from here it looks, this patterning underneath here doesn't make sense. And then it's like, why would it round out here on the bottom? That is kind of how giant or mushrooms would look. So how is this eroded? I mean, it might just be a weird thing. That one, again, look at the background stuff. This all looks like eroded stuff back here. Holding up a giant boulder. Okay, that one's all right. All right, you got me there. If that's a real photograph, that just legit for some reason looks like a giant mushroom. I think these are obvious erosion because look, there's trees up here. Erosion, rocks deflected. These are probably some sort of granite, and then this is like sandstone or something, and then they got eroded around the granite from the direct rainfall or something. Same thing here. I don't know what that is. Okay, that one's a little weird because it's just kind of standing out in the middle of a hill. I would say those are erosion. Yeah, same thing. Okay. Okay, this one is in the middle of a forest, so that one doesn't really entirely make sense to me, like how that would be erosion. But you never know. A forest could have grown up around it after the fact. So, anyways, I just thought it was it was interesting that we saw one picture of this stuff the last time, and then I found this web page, this Facebook page, and it had all of these different ones. Y'all talking about the Nephilim? I was a little bit earlier, El Hombre. Now we're talking about giant mushrooms. Like the Nephilim were shrooming, bro. Yeah, so I think they're Nephilims, the giants, the heroes of old, Genesis 6 stuff. What size jean and shirt did a giant with a 5-foot wear? Extra quintuple X large. I don't know. Can you imagine how high you can get from those matching mushrooms? Wah, wah. I wouldn't try eating them now. They're if they ever were mushrooms, they are petrified. So yeah. You have ADD, don't you? No, I don't have a schedule of information in front of me. I'm flying by the seat of my pants here, ladies and gentlemen, until I get to this where I do have a actually I kind of squirrel on that too. I don't have ADD. Come on, cut it out. Jeff Potts says Mike S. Miller, comics geological fungi expert. Code GFE. Geological fungi. Okay. I don't have ADD, Jeff Potts. I can sit down and focus on a thing all I want. It's just when I'm talking about this stuff, there's so much stuff to talk about. All right, I'm going to click off of this and kind of scroll through that page again because look at this. Don't tell me that's not a giant tree stump. That's a freaking giant tree stump. What are you talking about? This one too. It's like, here's a tree stump in the yard. Oh, here's a tree stump. But it's like a mile wide. I don't know how wide that is, but it's a very large thing. Oh, that's cool. Brain cells and galaxies. Whoa. All right, that is kind of ADD. Never mind. I got to stop. Because I need to get in a little bit early to this today. But yes, we were talking about that and why giants in the Bible are a real actual thing. They're not the only place giants are talked about in history. Obviously in Egypt, there's like I see I googled ancient giants. Where was it? I'm just gonna Google ancient giants. And I saw wonder if it'll pop up again. Images. Oh yeah, a bunch of the different here. All in one spot. All in one spot here. I got a bunch of the different hieroglyphics that show giants in ancient Egypt. And no, they didn't, I haven't seen any hieroglyphics that show that the Egyptians understood how to portray perspective. I haven't seen any. So it's like when you try to say, oh, well, no, there's a perspective at the blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, show me some other place where they use perspective. Because otherwise these guys look like they are on the same plane, especially like look down here. These are two guys like on top of the thing. This guy's got a thing going over the guy's head. So obviously he's standing on some sort of a platform. It's not perspective. If it was just these two guys, you could say, oh yeah, that's a perspective thing. No, this is like somehow showing that this dude is twice as tall as these other dudes. Right? And it's just you have different sized giants. Otherwise, like the traditional what do you call it? Perspective on why the Egyptians chose to portray certain humans or humanoids larger than others was as a status symbol, as a matter of importance. This is Nefertiti, therefore she's twice as tall as her cousin Neferbibi. I made that up. Mike, where it's difficult. I'm waiting for the petrified squirrel. Yeah, but I don't buy that because, like I showed you last time, there were slaves right? It's not on this one. I don't want to go look it up right now. But there were some, and like right here, look at this. This is a normal sized person touching in the same plane in front of the other people who are clearly twice as tall as her, except they're kneeling down on the ground. So they're kneeling down. This is clearly not a child because she's got the boobies. She's fully breasted. And these are other women who are being dressed by her like she's the slave. Okay. In that case, then you can go by that thing where, oh, the slaves are smaller and the blah, blah, blah. But they're not all, because it's not a consistent thing, right? It would have to be consistent. Maybe it's a midget. Yes, all the midgets were servants of the normal people, normal-sized people back in the day. And they also had the same general dimensions as the normal people. No. So if it's like, look, if you're just looking at this one thing, then maybe you're saying, oh no, it's just this one thing. But the preponderance of the evidence all over the giant footprints, dimensions of giants in all kinds of ancient documents, Gilgamesh to Greek legends, to Cyclops, to Nordic legends, to the Bible, to Native American lore. It's ubiquitous. Giants in the land are very nearly as ubiquitous in our history. You can call it legend or myth or whatever you want, but it's part of our history as the flood is. And the flood is in over 300 cultures on every corner of the planet, completely disparate societies that would have no reason to copy each other's stories, have the flood story, and talk about giants. Doesn't fit into evolution, though. So that's why the Smithsonian went around the planet collecting as many of the giants as they could and hiding them off wherever they put the Ark of the Covenant in at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is not where the Ark of the Covenant is. But anyways, Clash of the Titans. So just so you know, it's just another thing. The Bible's true. Even on those crazy things you think, oh my gosh, what do you mean giants? What do you mean unicorns? What do you mean dragons? All of these things are real and have been just sort of scooched off and taken out of our public schooling education, which indoctrinates us into thinking they're all fantastic. They're all fantastical, right? It's all real, though. It's all real. Everything you believe is a lie. If you're an evolutionist, anyways. Would you command your portrait to be taller than everyone? No. No. I'm looking for some inspiration for my world building. Maybe you can help with here too. You know what I want to do? Like someday, after I'm done with Afar, which by the way, there's been some, maybe I shouldn't talk about it. I don't believe in jinxing. I'm talking to somebody who's connected with a bunch of ministries and churches and Christian businesses about how to progress, continue with Afar. I told him I want to do a Kickstarter so we can set up a sort of thing. But he seems very, very excited by it, and he's kind of apparently he's for real. He's for real. So hopefully that's going to go somewhere excellent, and we'll be able to minister to the world with Afar soon. Oh, guys, you want to see the most recent pages? Let's see, what page was I on? I haven't done this since Friday, right? So you guys, saw The Last Supper? This is the last thing I will squirrel. I want to share. Okay. Adding to stage. So Afar, this was The Last Supper. Gotta click back on that screen. This is Jesus saying one of the 12 is going to stab me in the back, betray me, obviously. John says, "Who is it?" And he says, "It's the one that dips with me in the sop." Then he and Judas dip. And John's like, "What?" And then Satan enters into Judas. Jesus tells him to go do the stabby backy thing. And then Judas walks off and he's got Satan's tail. You like that? The Satan's tail thing. All right. See you later, Pots. Jesus said, "I am the bread. This bread is my body." And they're like, "What?" And they're like, "What?" Because they didn't understand. And then he tells them, oh no, he's talking to Peter, because there's Peter. He says, "Peter, Satan's after you." And he said, "But I prayed," and I punched him in the face. And Peter says, "I'll go to prison with you." And Jesus lets him know, "Before the cock crows, you'll deny me 3 times. All based. And then Peter's all bummed. And then here's an interesting thing going through. I've never recognized this line in the scriptures. Because I was really worried because I knew Peter was going to need a sword at some time in the story. And I never put swords on any of them. I never gave any of them swords. And I was like, people probably just carried swords around back then. It was just, standard practice to have a sword on you. But in Luke 22:38, it says one of the apostles came in with 2 swords. And Jesus said, "That is enough." I don't ever remember reading that scripture before, but it totally solved my problem of Peter needing a sword because it was crazy. Yes, Crypto, I drew this. This is my wordless Gospels book. I'm on page. Well, this is page 125. So yeah, one of the apostles comes in. Actually, I think that is Andrew. And he says, "Here's the swords, Jesus." And he says, "That's enough." And then they go walk up to the Mount of Olives. It's not available online, Crypto, no. It is partially, if you go on Facebook and you go look up Afar Comic, AFAR Comic, you can get like the first 65 pages. They're online there. Then Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane tells them to wait there while he goes off and prays so hard he sweats a drop of blood. And then he comes back and they're all asleep and he says, "Wake up, it's time for me to be betrayed." And then here comes, dun dun dun, the legion of what was it, temple guards? I believe they were temple guards, if I remember the scriptures correctly. But yeah, it's like a freaking legion, which a legion is, I think, if I remember historically, it's between 50 to 200 soldiers, something like that. And so this scene is never portrayed correctly in movies because it's usually just a handful of guys. They come and they take Jesus away. That is not what it says in scripture. That's not what it says in, is it Luke? John. In John. A legion is about 4,000 men. Okay, what's the exact word? Anyways, I know it's a bunch of them, so I wasn't going to draw 4,000 men. But they weren't just coming to arrest Jesus. They were coming to arrest all of the apostles, right? You don't send that many people just to arrest one dude. A cohort. It was a gaggle. And I didn't draw as many as there probably were, but I drew a bunch of guys. So here they come. Jun, 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 jun. And there's Judas with them. And he says, "Who are you looking for?" And he says, "Jesus of Nazareth." And then Jesus says, "The name of God, I am." And in John, it describes it knocked them all on their butts. Like universal push. I am. They all just get knocked on their butts just by the Jesus uttering the name of God as he named himself in the Old Testament, which always makes me wonder. Does God use the name I am in the Old Testament because Jesus says the name I am in the New Testament? Because he's out of time. And when he says I am, who are you? I am. We're looking for Jesus. I am. boom. I don't know. The whole God being outside of time thing always like makes things crazy for me. Very Gilgagar, Baltagar, Black Bold. Okay. So I got to illustrate that. Okay, them like flying up into the air and stuff is a little hyperbolic, but closer to what is described in John than any other time I've ever seen it depicted in film or comics or anything. And I thought it was important to get it down that way. And then I like this. He looks down at the dude and he goes, "Who are you looking for again?" Because, bro, you literally just knocked down a legion or a cohort or whatever with a word. And then he comes up and he says, and he repeats his question, "Who are you looking for?" This is in modern vernacular. It's like, right? Who are you looking for again? I mean, I guess that's the same thing, but Jesus of Nazareth. And he says, "I am." And then in the scripture, it says, "Let these go." Because who's in control right now? Who is the boss in this scene? Jesus is. Jesus is in control. And he tells them to let the others go. And this entire gaggle of soldiers obeys Jesus. Because maybe they didn't want him to say knee to him another time. And then Peter, okay, here's the thing. So the Jews, all of the Jews who believed in Messiah, believed Messiah was coming to free them from Rome. Right? So when Jesus, this is the first time he presents this power, this aggressive power. Ready, fire, aim, Peter whips out his sword and starts hacking. And Jesus has to stop him like right away and be like, "Bro, no, this ain't what we're doing." And then Jesus heals dude and then voluntarily arrested. Oh, there it is. That's how far I am. That is page 131. Actually, I'm halfway done with page 132, but I was busy yesterday, so I didn't get as much time as I wanted to get everything done. But anyways, let's get over to... Where are we? We need to do 1 Samuel 21 and 22 today, so I'm going to read through both of those. 1 Samuel 21 and 22. All righty. Devil's Air says, "Also, Mike, I am Dutch, English second language, so typos are a 4 when I type here." Did you do that on purpose just to make the point? Joe says, "In Greek, it's not exactly I am. It's more like being." Okay, I don't have time to dive into that right now. I am is not the tetragrammaton. Oh my gosh, annoying phone calls. Asher, Aya is I am that I am. The letters of Yahweh literally mean behold the nail, behold the hand. Really? That's interesting. But I didn't say it was the tetragrammaton. Yeah, I know that's YHWH is the tetragrammaton. All right. Sorry. Oh, foot. Or a foot. Ah, gotcha. Who wants to live in a world without dragons? Right? Okay, come on. It's 34 after. We need to get to the scriptures, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't I just click the right chapter? 1 Samuel 21. I could have sworn I just clicked this. And didn't it go? I guess not. Okay. All right. Sorry. Let me wet my whistle. I think this is a relatively short chapter, so we can get through both of them pretty quick. Really? And think about this. Yahweh was the name given to Moses on Sinai some 1,400 years before Christ's birth and crucifixion. Yeah. right? So it's all, I mean, that's the thing. God is outside of time. So it's all prophetic to us, but it's all just him telling us stuff out of order. I do like the black bolt I am, though. Okay, I don't know what that means to Vic. All right, let's go. 1 Samuel chapter 21. I wish I had Edwin here to read for me, but he's probably gardening. Then came David to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest, and Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, Why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said to Ahimelech the priest, now let's just catch up. This is after Jonathan tells David that, yeah, his dad is trying to kill him, so he better just book out of town. So David is now on the run, and he's made his way to Nob, and not Nob Hill, although that's probably what it's named after. Yahweh was given to Moses. The name Yahweh, YHWH, the Tetragrammaton. So that's the setup here, and that's why he's on the run. Ain't got no gun, ain't got no money, no food, no clothes, no nothing. He's just going. Although I think he has his people, doesn't he? And David has said to Ahimelech the priest, the king hath commanded me a business. Liar. He's lying to save his own butt. That's okay. And hath said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Oh shoot. Hold on, let me represent this screen, because I don't like share screen. I don't like it when it does that. Brave tab window. All right. Okay, now you don't see that little black thing. What is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from whammon. And David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth, the women have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but showbread, and was taken from before the Lord to put hot bread in the day it was taken away. So the showbread, IIRC, it's like dedicated to the Lord, right? Man, they do this stuff in Buddhism, where they my mom will take fruit and put it before her gohonzon, which is like the altar they pray to, and then she'll leave it there for a while, like they offer to. But I think only the priests are supposed to eat the showbread after it's offered to the Lord, so something like that. I can't remember exactly. Now a certain man of the servants of Saul was there that day, detained before Saul, and his name was Doug, an Edomite, the chiefest of the herdmen that belonged to Saul. And David said to Ahimelech, and is there not here under thine hand or spear or sword? For I have neither brought my sword nor my weapons with me, because the king's business required haste. And the priest said, the sword of Goliath the Philistine, the giant, because there were giants in the land, whom thou slewest in the valley of Elah. Behold, it, oh my gosh. Hold on, that's my wife. I can't not answer that. Where was I? The God of the Philistine, Goliath the Philistine, whom thou slewest in the valley of Elah, behold, it is here wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If thou wilt take that, take it, for there is no other save that here. And David said, there is none like that. Give it me. Oh, I'm sorry. Why am I yawning? I'm like gacked out on coffee. And David arose and fled that day for fear of Saul and went to Achish, the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said unto him, is not this David, the king of the land? Did they not sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s? And David laid up these words in his heart, and was sore afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. And he changed his behavior before them, and feigned himself mad in their hands, and scrabbled on the door of the gate, and let his spittle fall down from his beard. Then said Achish unto his servants, Lo, ye see the man is mad. Wherefore then have ye brought him to me? Have I need of madmen, that ye have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house? Next chapter. David therefore departed thence, and escaped to the cave of Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. And every one that was in distress, and every one that was in debt, and every one that was discontented, the deplorables, gathered themselves unto him, and he became a captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men. And David went thence to Mizpah of Moab, and he said unto the king of Moab, Let my father and my mother, I pray thee, come forth and be with you, till I know what God will do for me. In other words, hey, king that's not king of Israel, who's trying to kill me, can you watch my parents for me, please? Thank you. And he brought them forth before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while that David was in the hold. It's interesting they don't mention his brothers, because his brothers were still in the army of Saul. Interesting. I don't remember if they play another part in this. Anyways, squirrel. And the prophet Gad said unto David, Abide not in the hold, depart, and get thee unto the land of Judah. Then David departed and came into the forest of Harath. When Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men that were with him, now Saul alone abode in Gibeah under a tree in Ramah, having his spear in his hand, and all his servants were standing about him. Then Saul said unto his servants that stood about him, Hear now, ye Benjamites, will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards, and make you all captains of thousands and captains of hundreds? In other words, will David bribe you? That all of you have conspired against me, and there is none that showeth me that my son hath made a league with the son of Jesse. And there is none of you that is sorry for me. He's so sorry for himself, though. Or showeth unto me that my son hath stirred up my servant against me to lie in wait as at this day. He's so paranoid. He's saying that Jonathan, his son, stirred David against him. Oh my gosh, dude. This guy's he's like paranoid schizophrenic or something. Then answered Doug the Edomite, which was set over the servants of Saul, and said, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob, to Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub. And he inquired of the Lord of him, and gave him victuals, food, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Then the king sent to call Ahimelech the priest, the son of Ahitub, and all his father's house, the priests that were in Nob, and they came, all of them, to the king. In other words, all of the priests of God. And Saul said, Hear now, thou son of Ahitub. And he answered, Here I am, my lord. And Saul said unto him, Why have ye conspired against me, thou son and the son of Jesse, in that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and hast inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait at this day, as at this day? Then Ahimelech answered the king and said, And who is so faithful among all thy servants as David, which is the king's son-in-law, and goeth at thy bidding, and is honorable in thine house? Did I then begin to inquire of God for him? be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant, nor all the house of my father, for thy servant knew nothing of all of this, less or more. More or less. He had an inkling because he was scared. But David, he is just repeating what David said. And the king said, thou shalt surely die, Ahimelech, thou, and this is the messed up part, all thy father's house. What? Douche. And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, in other words, his footmen, the Jews, the army of Israel, turn and slay the priests of the Lord, because their hand is also with David, and because they knew when he fled and didn't show it to me. But the servants of the king, the Jews, would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priests of the Lord. And the king said to Doeg, turn thou and fall upon the priests. And Doeg the Edomite, freaking Edomites, right? Am I right? Edomites. Turned, and he fell upon the priests, and slew on that day 75 persons that did wear a linen ephod. In other words, priests. And Nob, the city of priests, smote he with the edge of the sword, both men and women, children and sucklings, and oxen and asses and sheep, with the edge of the sword. So he completely decimated pretty much the entire line of priests of the Lord. What I don't get, and I get, you don't want to kill the king, obviously, if you're a soldier in the army of the king. But dude, they just sat there and they let one dude, and he probably had people with him, but they let him kill him. It's like, I don't know. If I was a soldier, I don't know. Somebody should have been like, no, and like killed Doug. And one of the sons of Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priests. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house. Abide thou with me, fear not, for he that seeketh my life seeketh thy life, and with me thou shalt be in safeguard. And how does he know that? Because he's king, because he's anointed to be king. And he knows God has greater plans for him than clearly what Saul has planned for him. So, what does Beelzebub translate to? Lord of the Flies, I believe. Edomite sounds like a flower of Eden. Is Edom. Edom is they're the descendants of Esau. So you know how Jacob and Esau, they obviously split and took Israel, and then became Israel, and then the sons of Esau became the Edomites. So they're related. They're like cousins to the Israelites, but they're not descended from Israel. You guys are having a nice little conversation in the chat. By the way, if you are watching over, then please do go click that link in the chat to join the fellowship here, and it'll take you over to where everybody else is watching over on Unapologetic American. So please and thank you, do that if you would. It's better to be where everybody is for the conversation in the fellowship, because sometimes I do read and I ramble, and you guys might want to have a conversation and just to be ignoring what I say, because that's what fellowship is, I guess, right? Anyways, all right, we're just going to do the chapter or the day 22 because it's already Tuesday. And I have 10 minutes left. All right, collateral damage by AJ Hoffman. Hi, AJ. He's not watching. Yeah, Edom, I don't think is a nice phrase since he sold his birthright for some stew. He did. Because he just wasn't taking it seriously, right? Zach says, I've seen that with a lot of Buddhists. They leave fruit or food out by these little altars or memorials. You'd think they want to keep the fruit flies away from holy things. Ha ha. Yeah, they're called butsudons. It's a butsudon. They can come in just little, tiny little boxes. Or my mom's is this big, black, lacquered, ornate thing. It's probably worth thousands of dollars. And I don't know what the heck to do with it when I inherit it. I don't want it. I'm gonna put a Bible in it. She's not watching. That's fine. Take you some ibuprofen next time with your coffee. You will be having visions and speaking into. I'm gonna pass. All right, there's Drake. What's up? What's up, everybody? All right. Everybody's over here now. Everybody's in the right chat. Well, not everybody. There's still 4 people watching on Blacklist Universe. Come on, Blacklisters. Get over to Unapologetic America. Join us. Okay, that's not creepy. All right. Have you ever been used as a pawn to hurt or harm someone else without knowing the full picture? When I was a young youth pastor, yes, I know. To some, I still am. He's like 30 years old. Wait, is he 30 yet? I don't even know if he's 30 yet. I had an old friend of mine who was new to the church, asked to join our leadership team in junior high ministry. I was pumped twofold because he was an old friend and we needed leaders. The first week, I ecstatically announced to everyone that he was a new leader, but in the coming weeks, regretted every word. In short, he wasn't there to connect with students. He was there to connect with a specific youth leader. And when she didn't reciprocate his interest, he fizzled out. He used our friendship and the junior high as a springboard to try and date a girl. We were a means to an end. Am I still bitter about it? Yes, maybe I am. But being used is the worst. This is how I imagine Ahimelech feels in this story. David lied to him and used him to get some food and a weapon. It's important to note that David had no desire to cause pain for Ahimelech. In fact, the two were friends. Yet here the future King David made a colossal error by bringing Ahimelech into his own mess without being honest with his friend. Ultimately resulted in the destruction of all 85 priests, and the entire priestly city of Nob was slaughtered down to the children and the animals. Point is, when we sin, it's rarely isolated. We almost always bring others into our suffering. Few believers today can say they are negligent when it comes to knowing the consequences of sin. Despite knowing the consequences, many of us still choose to go forward anyway. We look at porn or get a little drunk, all the while thinking it's only going to affect us a little, or affect just us. This is far from the truth. There is no such thing as isolated sin. It always brings about collateral damage. The devil tries to convince you there isn't collateral damage, but he's a liar, and he usually throws it back in your face in the end. David hears about his mistake when one of the priest's sons, Abiathar, more on him later, escapes to tell David the news. David admits his mistake in verse 22 and learns this lesson the hard way. He says, I knew it. I knew he was sure to tell Saul. Now I have caused the death of all your father's family. David finally turns things around here when he admits his mistake and seeks to make it right with the orphan Abiathar. P.S. Doug is the worst. Sorry, it just had to be said. I'm trying to think if I'm kind of agreeing with AJ here because, I mean, in a very real sense, David should have killed Doug. Right? If David here, that's the thing. Would it have been the greater sin than the lie? Yeah. But it would have saved an entire town and the entire line of priests. What's the greater sin? This is the greater sin conundrum, right? The greater sin. I'm hiding Jews in my attic. The Nazis come to the door, right? Do I lie to them? All right, it's one Nazi comes to the door. Do I lie to him? Or do I tell him the truth? He comes in, he finds the Jews, and then I have to kill him. I don't know. I mean, obviously, lying to him is the easier sin. They're both sins. One requires me to actually kill somebody, but it's killing somebody in defense of somebody else, which is sort of self-defense or heroic in a sense. But oh, this is so funny. My son told his girlfriend something that my son doesn't lie. Just point blank. I taught my son Elijah not to lie at a very, very early age. And the kid, you're like nobody doesn't lie. My son doesn't lie. I've never heard him utter a lie in 22 years, almost 23 years. And so his girl, I'm not going to say details, but he didn't lie to his girlfriend. And I'm like, it's not a lie. You just don't have to always tell the whole truth. If you're going to hurt someone's feelings, I shouldn't even get into this. I was like, bro, how long do you want to be married? There's no reason to lie. There's no reason to lie. No, here's the thing. It's the greater sin conundrum. You do lie to the Nazi. You don't kill the Nazi. You don't let the Nazi find your Jews you're hiding, because then you have to kill the Nazi in order to save the Jews, right? You just lie to, and then the people are gonna be like, the other Nazis are gonna be like, hey, where'd our Nazi buddy go? And then they'd come find you and kill you anyways. So yes, you lie in that scenario. There's the conundrum of the greater sin, lie. And so I think that's kind of where David was, right? What is a lie that is not the whole truth? Gosh, your hair looks nice. Omitting parts of I can't do it without telling the whole story, and it's really embarrassing, and I just don't want to. Okay. So I'm not going to do that. Hey, what's up, Jacob? Jacob's in his house. But yeah, so like look, a principle is weighed on its extremes. So that's why I go to the extreme of the Nazi phallus, or the Nazi question. Do you lie? Yes, you do lie. Right? Did David lie here? Yes, he did lie. Was he trying to CYA, or was he trying not to get his friend in trouble? Because if he told his friend the truth, then what would happen? His friend would be obligated by the king not to help him, right? And then he would be obligated probably to tell the king. Then his friend would be lying to the king, right? In this case, because David lied, his friend was not lying to the king. The king killed him anyways. So the bad guy in this, I don't consider to be David. David lied. Yes. He needed a weapon. He needed swords. I don't know. I don't think this is quite as black and white as AJ is making it sound, but what the heck? He's a pastor and I'm not. I'm just some dude on the internet, so don't listen to me. All right, let's see what the questions are. We are out of time in 30 seconds, but we're going to do this anyways. Question number 1. Is there a particular area of sin in your life in which you are neglecting to see the larger consequences? Who might be affected by this sin besides you? Well, I've been putting off my taxes since April. I'm supposed to get them to my accountant's been hounding me to get her the information like this week. So God, I gotta do my taxes this week. I don't know. I'm sure there's consequences to that if I don't do my taxes. But anyways, how has someone else's sin caused damage and pain in your life? Well, I don't even have to answer this for most of you. So if you were here during the earlier cross examinations, I got a whole year and a half, 2 years worth of that. So, anyways, question number 3, and you can answer these in the comments below if you like. I don't think I need to get into that stuff here. How did David make things right with Abiathar, and what does this teach us about admitting our faults and failures? Well, he doesn't make it right with Abiathar. Abiathar is the orphan, and literally it's like the last 2-3 lines in this chapter. I mean, he just says, stay with me, I'll keep you safe. That's not making it right? That's just like, we're in this foxhole together now, buddy. So holding off on your taxes seems like the actions of an unapologetic American, right? What's up, Matt? Cross examinations is back. All right, see you later, March. We're about done here. Anyways, let me ramble off this here. That's a terrible way to say it. Let me read the daily prayer. Oh wait, and what does this teach us about admitting our faults and failures? Well, yeah, own up to your sins. That's what confession's about. And then you try to make it right with the people who against whom you have sinned by confessing, apologizing to them. Just trying to make sure, the fewer enemies you have, the better your life is going to be. That's right. But in this life, we will have enemies. So it is what it is. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. If you don't have any enemies, it's because you've never stood for anything. At least not publicly. Right? And look, everyone's not built like me, where I'm going to voice my opinions. I'm going to stand for truth. When someone says something that I know is wrong, I mean, on a biblical scale, then I kind of have to stand up for the truth. Not everybody's built like that. Not everybody wants to argue. Some people just want to be nice and gracious and kind and loving, and that's also a gift from God. But so I'm not saying everybody needs to have enemies. I'm sure it's a much easier, more pleasant life not to have enemies, but I'm not built that way. So I'll deal with it. I will deal with it. You don't have to have enemies. I'm not telling you to go out there and, be a loudmouth on social media. Oof, been there, tried that, but I stuck around after the girl I liked turned me down. Oh, hey-o. Like there are only 2 genders. Very true. Yeah, I wish I made these shirts that say believe the biology, but they got printed on this terrible material and I can't wear them. I just don't like the feel of the material. So maybe someday I'll have them redone. Anyways, daily prayer. Lord, I'm sorry for when my sins have caused collateral damage to other people. Protect me from the lies of the enemy surrounding secret sin and isolation. Will you please help me learn this lesson from David without having to make the same mistakes? Oh, man. And I don't know if I'm learning this lesson because I'm kind of disagreeing with what the lesson is. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. If you guys have opinions, ideas about whether or not I'm wrong, or if you can persuade me that I am wrong, leave it in the comment section after the show. Show is over now, so that would be a good time to do that. Otherwise, it's 2:20 and I have to go pick up my son. God bless us, everyone, and thank you for joining us on another exciting episode of Cross Examinations. We'll see you next time.
Back in line, you dog! On your feet! Get them going!